Life has a budget for chaos. And I don't mean that philosophically, I mean that your car will break down, your roof will develop opinions, your body will schedule a medical appointment you didn't book, your employer will make a decision that affects your income in a way you did not anticipate and cannot immediately fix. Your dog, if you have one, will eat something expensive and require a conversation with a vet who charges by the minute. These are not worst-case scenarios. These are Tuesday. And here's the thing about Tuesday. Tuesday doesn't care whether you're ready. Tuesday just shows up, hands you a bill, and waits while you open your banking app with the expression of someone who already knows what they're going to find. The people who get through Tuesday without their financial life collapsing have one thing that the other people don't. And it is not a high salary. It is not a trust fund. It is not a side hustle or investment portfolio or a wealthy relative who happens to be feeling generous. It is an emergency fund. Boring name, extraordinary function. Welcome to Money Moves. Today we're talking about the single most unsexy financial tool in existence, and why not having one is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. Let me tell you where most Americans currently stand on emergency savings, because the data is genuinely something. 42% of Americans have no emergency fund at all. Zero. Not a small one. Not an underfunded one. None. According to a U.S. news survey from January 2025, nearly half the country is operating without any financial cushion whatsoever. But wait, it gets better. 43% of Americans couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency expense with their savings. $1,000. The average cost of a car repair in 2025 is $838, according to Kelley Blue Book. Which means that for nearly half the country, the car breaking down on the way to work is a financial crisis, not an inconvenience. An actual crisis that requires borrowing money, calling a family member, or putting it on a credit card at 22% APR and quietly hoping for the best. And the median emergency savings balance in America, according to Empower's 2025 research, $500. $500. That is one car repair. That is one urgent care visit. That is one flight home for an unexpected family situation. It is not 3 to 6 months of living expenses, which is what every financial expert on earth recommends, and which 89% of Americans themselves say they'd need to feel financially secure. The gap between what people know they need and what they have is so wide it has its own gravitational pull. 30% of adults, according to the Federal Reserve's 2024 survey of household economics, couldn't cover 3 months of expenses by any means. Not savings, not credit, not borrowing, not selling anything, just couldn't. We are essentially a paycheck-to-paycheck nation, said Mark Hamrick, Bankrate's senior economic analyst, and he is not exaggerating. I'm going to ask the uncomfortable question directly. Do you currently have an emergency fund that could cover 3 months of your expenses? Yes, working on it, or absolutely not, and you're watching this while the car makes a concerning noise? Drop it in the comments. No judgment. This is a safe space for financial honesty. Here's the thing. The people without an emergency fund are not stupid. They're not irresponsible. They didn't forget that emergencies exist. The reasons are real, and I'm going to acknowledge them before I tell you why they still don't add up. 73% of Americans say they're saving less because of inflation, the rising cost of living, or a change in income. That is real. Consumer prices are 26% higher than they were in December 2019. Groceries are expensive, rent is expensive, everything is expensive, and wages have not kept up. Building a 3-month cushion when your budget is already stretched to its edges is genuinely hard. But here's what I want you to sit with. The choice isn't build an emergency fund or eat. For most people, it's build an emergency fund or maintain the current spending level. And the current spending level includes things that are not survival, the subscriptions, the eating out, the things that feel like necessities because they've been in the budget long enough to stop feeling like choices. And more importantly, not having an emergency fund doesn't make you less likely to need one. It just means that when Tuesday shows up, and Tuesday will show up, you handle it with a credit card instead of cash, which costs you more, which makes the next emergency harder to afford, which makes the next subscription cancellation feel less possible, which makes building the fund feel further away. If this is the Money Moves episode that finally makes you do the thing you've been putting off, subscribe so you catch every episode. Real frameworks, real numbers, genuinely useful, free. 2 seconds. And it won't cost you $838 in car repairs if you delay it. Hit the button. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. That's the standard recommendation, and it's the right one. Not 3 to 6 months of income. 3 to 6 months of what it costs to keep your life running. Rent or mortgage, utilities, food, insurance, minimum debt payments, transportation. If your essential monthly expenses are $3,000, your target is $9,000 to $18,000. If they're $5,000, your target is $15,000 to $30,000. The range is wide because 6 months is for people with irregular income, single income households, or jobs that would take a long time to replace. 3 months is for people with stable employment, dual incomes, and lower risk of extended unemployment. The important nuance that most emergency fund advice skips: the 3 to 6 months figure assumes you're actually unemployed and living off it. If the emergency is a $2,000 car repair and you have stable income, you don't need to drain your 6-month fund, you just need enough to cover the repair without going into debt. The fund serves multiple functions at different sizes. This means you don't have to build the full thing before it starts being useful. $1,000 covers most car repairs and urgent care visits. $2,500 handles most home appliance replacements. $5,000 gives you a real buffer against short-term income disruption. The first $1,000 is the hardest to build and the most important milestone. Get there first. This is the part that sounds boring and contains a genuinely good piece of information that most people don't implement. Your emergency fund should not be in your regular checking account. The reason is entirely psychological and completely valid. If it's mixed in with your regular money, it doesn't feel like a separate fund. It feels like money, and money gets spent. And suddenly, the emergency fund is also the "I really wanted that thing" fund, and the "this month was expensive" fund, and the fund you dip into for holiday shopping, which, by the way, 23% of Americans did in 2025, according to U.S. News. An emergency fund used for holiday shopping is just a savings account with a complicated relationship with the word emergency. Put it in a separate high-yield savings account, not your primary bank if you can help it. The slight friction of having to transfer money before you can spend it is a feature, not a bug. It creates a small pause between impulse and action, and that pause is doing important work. High-yield savings accounts currently offer around 4% APY, which means your $10,000 emergency fund earns roughly $400 a year just for existing, which is not enough to retire on, but is meaningfully better than earning $1 a year in a regular savings account, which is what most people are doing with money they worked hard to save. Where is your emergency fund currently living? Regular checking, separate savings, high-yield savings, or the deeply moving answer of "inside my mattress"? Drop it in the comments. I want to see the distribution because I think a lot of people have never thought about this part. The number one mistake people make when trying to build an emergency fund is treating it like a willpower exercise. It is not a willpower exercise. Willpower is a finite resource that gets depleted by everything else in your life before you get to the part where you're supposed to feel motivated about saving. Automate it. Set up an automatic transfer from your paycheck to your separate high-yield savings account the day you get paid. Not after bills, not after groceries. The day you get paid, even $50 a paycheck, even $25. The amount matters less than the habit. The habit, once established, gets incrementally increased over time until it's doing real work. The math on even modest automation is more encouraging than it feels. $100 a month, $3.33 a day, less than a mediocre lunch, builds to $1,200 in a year. $200 a month builds to $2,400. Neither is a complete emergency fund. Both are meaningfully better than $0, which is where 42% of Americans are right now. The target feels distant when you look at it from zero. It feels much closer when you look at it from $1,000. Get to $1,000 first. Everything after that is progress, not starting over. One more thing that nobody says but is true. The emergency fund is not just a financial tool, it is a psychological tool. The difference between having $10,000 in a separate account you don't touch and having $0 is not just a matter of being $10,000 richer. It's the difference between checking your banking app and feeling okay versus checking it and feeling like you're one unexpected bill away from a very bad week. That feeling of okay is worth building toward. It is, in fact, the whole point. The one thing that saves people when life hits is not luck. It is not income. It is a boring account at a separate bank earning 4% APY that most people have not started, and a surprising number have never thought about. Start it this week. Open the separate account, set up the automatic transfer, make it $50 if that's all you can do right now. Get to $1,000, then keep going. Tuesday is coming, it always is. The only question is whether you're ready when it gets here. Drop a comment. What's the most unexpected expense that hit you hardest? See you in the next one.